What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Your Ex-Drinking Buddy. My name is Brennan Tassif. I'll be your host. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com/merch-store. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll put the shorts up there, the full video, the whole thing. Thank you so much for listening. I love it. I hope you love it. Subscribe on Patreon, too. We do bonus episodes. I do Tales from the Restaurant, where I talk about celebrities I've waited on and whether they're assholes or not, which is super fun. Also, we do a pre-show banter for my other show, Cheers from the Press Box with Joe Dorville. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on over there, too. Make sure you just subscribe everywhere, just all over the place. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not leaving the mean comments, thank you for that. Maybe leave a couple nice ones.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I am your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do, to hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I will be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Danny Suggs.
Thank you.
What's up, man?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. Before we get too far into anything at all, plug everything up front. Social media, this will come out in 2 weeks. So any dates you have coming up in December, anything you got going on, let everybody know.
Danny Suggs. My Instagram is the Black Danny. Yeah, come on out. Got a lot of stuff coming up.
So we have known each other for a few years now. We're ships passing in the night at shows and stuff like that. I've been wanting to get you on for a while, and we finally made it work. You were originally from the Northeast, correct?
Correct. Well,
okay.
Born in Hawaii, but I grew up in Virginia, yes.
Okay, all right. So I want to get into it. Before we get into some of the stories, because you sent me some stories, which are very funny, and you openly talk about some of the stuff on stage, about the girlfriends and the stuff like that. Before we get too far into that, though, I wanted to ask, how did you get into stand-up? How long have you been doing comedy?
I've been doing comedy for 9 years now.
Okay. And how did you find stand-up?
People always thought I was pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be an actor, and I guess I still am in a lot of ways because I'm doing reels and things like that. And hopefully that'll, spiral into something greater.
Yeah, absolutely.
For any directors listening. But, people always thought I was entertaining, and, I enjoyed making people feel better. Coupled with me doing comedy, I'm a trainer, so I like to keep people uplifted physically and like mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
And I figured, why not take a shot and see if I can continue to have access, to people and, kind of make people fall out of their depression. And, everybody's going through something, I think.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, because as someone growing up when I was a kid, I was really anxious and depressed, and I found stand-up through Comedy Central, and I was like, oh, this is cool. They can make me laugh. How did you, what was it? You just went to an open mic? Did you know about comedy? Was this in Virginia? How did you even find it?
I did. I went to an open mic. I went to Laughing Buddha.
Okay. So this was already in New York.
It was in New York, but prior to that, I had taken a class, I think that lasted for 3 weeks, because I was just terrified to get in front of anybody.
Yeah. Was this also in New York?
It was correct. It was in New York as well. I didn't know if I was going to be completely honest about who I was, I just had questions. I had reservations. Yeah. But I knew I wanted to entertain, because I see people on commercials, people, television shows, and I feel like, everybody's seen somebody say, I can do that.
Yeah.
So instead of.
Is that why you moved to New York? Was to do acting and pursue entertainment and stuff like that?
No, I left the pussy game and decided that I would just put my best foot forward. I want to put my best foot forward. I needed to get out. I needed to get out.
Yeah.
I needed to get far away. Not too far away. It was far away from my family, so I can still go back and see them on a regular basis. But at the same time, something jumped off. You're not going to get here for 4 hours.
Yeah. So let's talk about it, because I referenced it earlier, and you were just talking about it. So growing up, you were born in Hawaii, and then you grew up in Virginia.
Correct.
And you were growing up, you had girlfriends. You
I
dated
did.
girls.
I
You
did.
were straight for a while, actually.
Yeah,
'cause,
I liked the girl very much.
yeah.
Just one. One time.
That one time.
Uno.
Because you were obviously we're kind of dancing around it. You're a gay man living in New York City,
Right.
But it's interesting because I know you talk about it on stage. So you don't burn any of the bits, but what is that like growing up in Virginia and like trying to be an entertainer? Because I was the same way. Like I always tried to make people laugh, and then I would go home and like for me, I would go home and cry. But I was always trying to like be entertaining and be uplifting, and always trying to be kind of the center of attention. So for you having a background where you're like, oh, I like entertaining people, but you're in this area of Virginia, like what was that? Were you just growing up thinking like, oh, I'm straight? Or was it something inside where you were like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do? Like, how did that even happen?
Well, let me first say, I never tried to entertain anybody. Somehow I was just entertaining people.
Okay, got
and I
it,
didn't
got
necessarily
it.
know what it was. So a lot of times where people were laughing with me, I was insecure. I was like, are they laughing at me?
Yeah.
I was very, very concerned about that. So I had to learn how to read a room like very, very early,
Yeah.
just for my own protection. But,
See, that's interesting because I have a similar mentality where it's, are they laughing at me? But when I was in middle school and high school, I was bullied so much that I would be the butt of the joke. Like I would get beat up and everyone would laugh. And I was like, well, as long as everyone's laughing,
Right.
it's okay. And it took me to like getting into college and being in my 20s to be like, oh no, there is a difference between people laughing at me and people laughing because of me or with me.
right.
But you discovered that much earlier in life.
I discovered it much earlier. I have a twin brother.
Yeah.
He's straight.
Look at us
And he,
twins.
he was my battle armor. I'm not saying that he was an assassin, but, like everybody knew not to talk shit to Sean.
Yeah.
Everybody knew. And I didn't have a reputation of fighting, but, we're cut from the same cloth. Mm-hmm. So like being out on my own, like we kind of lived in a bubble. It was always like the twins.
Yeah.
It's like seeing two Dalmatian puppies. Everything, oh, the twins, blah, 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 blah. It got annoying for me because I just wanted to be a gay kid.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be able to like live my life and like figure my life out. But I was always a spectacle. People were always, like the twins. I was like, enough. So I just did what everybody else did, like, you supposed to get a girlfriend? I was like, okay, I guess it's July. It's like tax season. All right, I'll do it once a year. I'm like, all right.
I guess.
Well, I'll court her for about, like 2 months. And I was like, oh, this is not going to work out. Or like, sports are taking over. Like I'm Tom Brady. I mean, I play tennis. Like, sports have taken over. And like, I can't juggle the two. Like I'm serious about this. I love you, but I love tennis,
I really love tennis.
I ran track, I played soccer. But again, I just did everything because why not? Like I guess I like to compete to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
if I don't win, I'm just like, what's the big deal? My brother, he would get very upset if he
Yeah,
lost.
I'm like your brother, where like I'm hyper competitive, and my twin sister is much like you, where she's competitive to a point, but once it's over, she's like, okay, that was whatever.
He'd have soccer games and like, he'd score 5 goals, but he would cry because he's thinking about the one that he missed.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm the
And
same.
I'm like, why are you crying? We have 4 sodas and 2 bags of Doritos left. What are you crying about? I just didn't have the eye of the tiger with anything. I just.
So when as you grow up, what was that thing in your head like? And I want to get back to, we're going to get back to childhood because you have some stories that you sent me about high school in 6th grade in particular. But what was the thing when you got to New York? Because as you said, you weren't like seeking it out. How did you even find stand-up versus like acting versus like improv? Like, how did you find any of it? Because it is a niche thing when it all is said and done, like getting on stage and telling jokes. So how was that even introduced to you?
Like people would always say, "Oh, you're so funny, you should be a comedian." I was like,
Okay.
Thank you, Grandma," or like
Yeah.
other people tell me as well. But like you hear things like that, but you're just like maybe. But then you have a job where you're making money. You ask yourself, are you truly satisfied? And as a trainer, I ultimately am. I love my job. However, I do enjoy, telling jokes, and the world's in crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, everybody's going through something. It doesn't matter how attractive you are, how much money you have, like what have you. Everybody is down about something. So people like comedians are necessary. The world needs us because people are suffering.
Yeah.
But they could be their weight, breakups, you just don't know. So I feel like much like water, we're necessary.
Wow, that is so elegantly put.
Thank you.
So when you found stand-up, why because you said you were terrified of going on stage. Or were you scared of like just the reject? Like why the class? Like what was the prompt to be like, I'm not going to just go to an open mic. I'm going to take this class first.
I'd acted before.
Yeah.
And I did that pretty well, but I was reading a script. Now I'm forced to be myself. And I didn't know who I was exactly. I didn't know what my topics of conversation were going to be. I didn't know if I was going to stretch the tooth here or elaborate here or how specific I was going to be about like certain things. When I said, oh, yeah, I had sex all the time. Okay, be specific. Who are you having sex with?
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't know if I was going to have those conversations because certain audiences made me very, very nervous because I guess everybody has. I've never had a bully, but because I lived in such a bubble with my twin, if one person said something to me, I was like,
oh, really?
I was like, "How dare you?" You know, because I went to a private school. Like,
You played tennis.
Like we were so far behind. Like we were so far behind as far as like emotional development. I just hadn't been exposed to certain things.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got here, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go do ecstasy." I was like, "Ecstasy? What are the side effects of ecstasy?" How long does it stay in your system? Like,
was that one of the first things that came?
No, I had questions. I was like, no, like we're gonna have a conversation about this. What does this do? How long is it gonna be in my system? Because I was just such a control freak. Because I just knew I had to just read everybody before they read me because somebody might think he's gay, and I'd be like, oh no, we can't have any of that. So,
oh wow, so that carried over for a while in your life.
Oh, it's still in my back.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like as I get older, I try to shake that. But, I think we're all still developing, much like as comics. We're just still developing as people.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing. It's interesting because we are wired, especially from our formative years, a certain way. That's not breaking news. Everybody knows that. But it is interesting because I'm 36. And, I'm a big guy. I've been arrested. I've been to jail. I've been in a lot of fights. But there's still times at Mike's where, like, I'll see kids, like these 22-year-old kids, like giggling in a corner, and I immediately revert back to like middle school Brennan, like, oh, they're laughing at me because like one will look over and then they'll start giggling, and I'm like, oh, it's because I'm the old guy in the room and I still haven't made it, and like I get in my head,
right?
And as you say, like, I'm doing pretty well. I've got the podcasts, we're doing stuff, everything's happening, exactly as it's supposed to be happening. But in my head, I immediately revert back to that like middle school me of like, God, I'm such a loser.
Right.
And to your point, it's incredibly hard to shake that.
Well, like I think in a lot of ways, like I'm Teflon now, but I'm just saying like when I first got here, I was just very, very sensitive because I was more annoyed. Why are you making fun of somebody's shoes? Not me, but like, why are you making fun of somebody's shoes? Or, the way like somebody walks, like, that person can't help that. So if I feel like somebody's like bullying that sets me off.
Yeah.
Like that you can say whatever you want to me because I know who I am.
Yeah.
But, now.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, I was like, who you talking to? Like, I was just like, like I feel like I was an uptight, nervous wreck that didn't know how to let go because I didn't know if I was going to be accepted. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how macho somebody is, again, how much money they have, like whatever. No one wants their feelings hurt, especially for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be like somebody being upset with you. You have plants?
Yeah.
Bro, you have plants in your apartment? You're trash.
All the plants.
Right.
Well, I want to ask you, because this is an interesting point about stand-up, because now it's shifted a lot to like the crowd work and the reels and the things like that. I'm real big on not doing crowd work because I'm very self-involved, and I'm like, I'm going to do my material because that's what I wrote. That's what I've worked on. That's what I'm here for. Kyle Kinane has a really good bit where he's like, it's obviously facetious, but he's asked the guy what he does, and the guy goes to answer, and he goes, I actually really don't care. You guys paid money to see me. Right. And to me, that's kind of the thing where it's like, I did all this work to be on this stage. I'm not going to ask you about like how you two met because I don't really care. But I have seen it where comics have like trying to like take down hecklers have have incredibly become bullies. Mm-hmm. And for me, I can tell you that makes me very uncomfortable in the back of a room. Like sitting in the green room or in the back of a comedy club. When a comic goes in on someone, you're kind of like, all right, good, shut that person up. But then when they keep going in, there's a part of me that's like, hey, like, why don't we relax a little bit? Like, this might be the first time they've ever seen stand-up. and this will be the last time they've ever seen stand-up because now they're crying because you've gone after them so hard. So I wanted to ask you, because of that bullying, what you were just talking about with the bullying, if you see another, like, does that make you uncomfortable? Like, if you see comics, like, go after it? Because it makes me super uncomfortable. Like, it's one thing to, like, if someone's heckling to, like, shut them down, but then if they just keep going.
Not at all. It's disrespectful.
Okay.
Like, obviously, you paid to see a show. Shut up so I can give you a show.
Okay,
like,
see, so I thought you were going to go the other way on this.
Why are you speaking, first of all? And secondly, you've been drinking since 2 p.m. and now it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, you're unruly. Like, you're all over the place. Like, your speech is slurred. Now I'm having to engage with you because you keep trying to finish a joke. When I say, like, do you remember when you blah, 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 blah? And people are like, yeah, I remember. And then now they're talking amongst their friends. Yeah. No, sir.
Okay.
I need you to pull that all the way back. I'm like, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know,
no, and I appreciate exactly how you're putting it, where it's like other people are here too. Like, this is, because I've seen it before where, and I've talked about this story before, but I was at a show and these women, clearly drunk, clearly just like, you know, entitled white women. Love you. They were talking, and then the comic kind of went after them. But then they kept like kind of talking, and then he went after him again, and then the bouncer came over and was like, hey, if you guys aren't quiet, we're gonna have to ask you to leave.
Right.
But then the comic like turned, and everything was kind of fine. But then he kind of kept going, and I like honestly was sitting in the back, and then they both started crying, which, you know, is a thing that happens.
Was the interaction funny to the masses?
It was more like uncomfortable.
Got to do whatever you can to get that rail, baby. I'm joking. No, I didn't mean that.
No, I know you didn't. But it was in the room. I felt uncomfortable.
Right.
And I, as a comic, was watching, and it became where there was no bits anymore. He was just going after, like, you dumb pieces of shit, like just going after. And that's where I became like almost like, all right, like, what are we doing? So I don't know. I guess the only reason I got stuck on this topic was because we were talking about the bullying earlier. And to me, I think there's a fine line between like shutting someone down and then becoming a bully because you have a microphone.
I feel like the comic has to shut them down. You don't have to be blatantly disrespectful about it. Yeah. But, you know, you said, oh, what if it's their first time seeing a show? What if the next comic is going up for his first time?
Yeah, that's true. Now you make a good point.
No, that's been ruined. So
you've kind of changed my outlook on this.
Hey, you know, we're here for the people.
Because I used to be really soft. I am really soft with that. Because I go from 0 to 100, obviously. So if someone heckles, I'll try to shut it down. And then if they heckle again, I'm not like I'm like hey, if you talk one more time, I'll come off this stage and get you the fuck out of here.
I learned in the 3rd grade, if you ignore them, and they'll finally stop talking.
Oh, really?
And like most times,
what happened in the 3rd grade?
Well, like, you know, it's just something that your mom tells you. Because I was appalled that somebody did something. Yeah, I remember this kid. You know, he said I stole the jump rope, and like I just couldn't believe that this kid would lie on me. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah. I just couldn't believe it. Again, I was just like that. I didn't know people told lies like that. Like, you know,
why would you try?
Like taking a cookie, sure, but like stealing the jump rope out the closet, Kirk? You did that. I was shocked.
Kirk?
It was a lot.
All right, well, let's get into some of the stories, because you had mentioned the ecstasy thing, which I think is hilarious, and that's definitely going to go in the notes, because that's why I've never done psychedelics. I'm an anxious person, and people are always like, oh, yeah, like, people will say it like a throwaway. They'll be like, oh, take these shrooms, but make sure you're in like a good place and around friends, and just walk away. And I'm like, whoa, no, come back. What exactly is the criteria for taking this? So when you were younger, because you did talk about going to private school and kind of being in a bubble, when you were younger, were people like drinking and partying and like doing that kind of stuff? Or was that something you found later in life?
Only the girls that were sent from public schools to private schools because they had discipline issues, like they were. But I did have neighbors, you know, that were just kind of doing things they probably shouldn't be. And is my mom watching this?
I don't know. Does she watch
that? I've had a beer, you know, before, like, you know, you know, like I've had strawberry Boones before and didn't remember the following day.
Boones Farm?
Oh, God, me and Boones used to be like this. Like, now it's the devil.
Oh, my gosh. I can't say. How old when you had a beer? How old would you say you were? Like 14, 15? That's kind of the general. I've been doing the show a long time. That's kind of right in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, probably 13, 14.
Okay.
I mean, like, it was just a sip. And then, like, my next door neighbor, somehow she was just like there's beer downstairs. You guys want to go have some? And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
And somehow we were just putting him back. And I think we were putting him back because we told ourselves we were capable of putting him back. Somehow,
Really?
Somehow we really didn't get drunk. Who knows what we were eating back then? But somehow we just didn't get drunk. But her mother ended up catching her. She's like, what were you doing drinking those beers? She was like, we were thirsty. Dude, there weren't Capri Suns in there. What'd you expect us to do?
Yeah, what are we gonna water out of the
We were
tap?
parched.
Are you out of your mind?
Right.
So you had sent me a note about 6th grade, and I wanted to get more information on what happened in 6th grade. What
right.
was going on?
All right. So I was altar boy, and yeah, I guess I was a good kid, but I did some things that I probably shouldn't have done. Somehow,
That's what it's all about.
somehow I went back. You know, like we didn't have a gymnasium. We had a blacktop. So
Okay.
that's where everybody's playing. You know, like the jump ropes, Kirk, and you know the bouncing balls, things like the big rubber ball.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably a punishment to kids nowadays. But somehow I went back in to get a ball, and I walked by and I saw the science test sitting on the desk.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the science test sitting on the desk, and before I knew it, I had grabbed a copy of the science test. And
Really?
Let me finish. I got to get this out. I grabbed the science test. I put it in my pocket. And then I and a friend who I won't name, Shannon, we answered all the questions. And then, because we're good people, we distributed it to 19 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And the reason we probably got caught, I wasn't the best student unless I was really interested in the subject. In the past, I had gotten a whole lot of see-me's.
Yeah.
You know, paper blood red, like paper folded over when she's handing it to me.
Yeah.
But on this particular test, I got 112. They were like, something's not right here. Then they started checking everybody. And somehow, like, we got caught. And she says how, Sister Philip Michael was like, oh, I'm so disappointed in you guys and all this other stuff. And I got called down to the office, and they were like, who cheated on the test? Now it's just
So they wanted to know who was behind.
well, they knew
Because I'm assuming everyone.
I took it, but I think no one. They refused to believe I did it.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, who took that test? I was like, I don't know. I just didn't know, and I just didn't say anything. I didn't blink. I was like, I don't know.
You just held fast to, I don't know.
Anything else? I don't know.
So nothing ended up happening? You didn't get in any sort of. Did they void the test?
Well, somebody ended up breaking, and
no.
we didn't get suspended or anything
But
because
someone ratted?
yeah, somebody ratted.
Was it Kirk?
Um,
It was probably Kirk.
You know what? I never thought about that. Was it Kirk? We had to go home and tell our parents that was our punishment.
Oh, really?
So I told my mom and was like, whoa, somehow we were taking the test. The buzzer went off and they called time. And as she's grabbing papers, I'm still writing. And I happen to look over and I jotted the last answer to a question that I had because I wanted to be smart.
I mean,
Believable, right?
for 112?
They bought it.
Did they?
Yeah.
That is something interesting growing up was every time I would get in trouble, my natural reaction was to like one time my senior year, we had our senior trip. It was senior night. We'd always did it at Disney because I'm from Florida. So all the seniors would pile on the bus. You drive the hour and a half to Orlando, and they'd shut down Disney at like 7:00, and then all these seniors from all over the state would come and like ride the rides and do Disney.
Right.
And I remember we were driving to senior night, and I had gotten this reputation of being like a silly, like just a crazy, like I would do anything to get attention. And I remember one of the students was like, Brennan, I bet you won't moon the other bus. So our school had 4 buses because I went to a big school.
Oh, Brandon.
And I don't know how I gained this. I mean, I do. It's because I would do anything to get a laugh. So I was just like, oh, say I won't one more time. That was my big thing, was like, say I won't.
Dare me.
Yeah, my whole thing was like, dare me.
Man, a bitch, dare me.
And they dared me, and I did it. And I remember, I mean, this is 2006, but I remember it was like a big deal. Like, the vice principal came from the other bus, came onto our bus, and was like, "Tassif," because they knew it was me.
Oh, really?
Between playing football and like being a
one of them tasked boys again.
Well, yeah. Basically being a kid who would do anything for attention, they knew it was me. So it was like, Tassif. And then they called me off the bus. They like threatened to like not let me graduate, threatened to, you're not going to walk. And then luckily my brother went there 6 years ahead of me and was very smart and ended up going to UF, then Cornell. And he played all the sports, and he did, like, I have that bit where his nickname was like Massive Tassif. Like, he was pretty revered at the school.
Right.
And even though it was 6 years ahead of me, it was still all the same administration. So I remember Mr. Piggott was driving me back. He was like, Mr. Piggott's going to drive you back to the high school. He has to go back for something, so you're going to ride with him. And the whole time he just talked about how awesome my brother was. And I like broke down in the car, and I was like, I know I just get bullied all the time. So whenever people are telling me to do something that makes them happy, I just want to make them happy. So anyway, but it's that same thing where it was like I got in trouble, and immediately I was like, well, it was this thing where I just wanted to do this thing.
Right.
And that's like a thing. Or like when I would hurt somebody by accident, like
Right.
I would always act like I got hurt.
Oh,
Did
really?
Yeah. So like we had bouncy boxing one time, which was these giant gloves, and it was on like not a trampoline, but one of those air things. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was doing it with my friend, and I hit him, and then Dom Toretto and in Fast and the Furious, I just kept hitting him.
Right.
And he was like on the ground, and I just kept hitting him. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because of all the repressed anger from getting bullied, but and he started crying, and then I immediately acted like I twisted my ankle. And I was like, oh no, but I'm
like
hurt
a hurt
too.
dog trying to get
Yeah. So for you, like when you get caught cheating on the test, it was one of those things where you were like, I mean, obviously not the same at all, but you were just like, you found a way to like kind of talk your way out of it almost, where you were just like, I wanted to be smart. And
I mean, like I wanted to do well on the test. Wanted to support your parents, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the same side, like the same token, rather, I was a good kid. Like I never really did anything wrong. So I looked over one time.
Yeah.
And I happened to get 112. This is a Catholic school, and God is good. All I have to say. Won't he do it?
So you said you were a good kid, so you didn't get into a lot of trouble when you were growing up.
No, because
were your parents pretty strict?
Black military family,
Yeah.
like 4 boys.
I love the answer, by the way.
I mean,
were your parents strict? It was a black military family with 4 boys.
No,
you be the judge.
No, my dad was pretty disciplined, and my mother from New Bedford, and there was just a certain way of doing things. Like etiquette. I wasn't allowed to walk around the house in like an undershirt, and like I couldn't walk around the house with like no shirt on, and I felt like we were overdressed 97% of the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. I did a particular a sketch about that. Like showing up at a birthday party, everybody's got tank tops and shorts on. I show up in a 3-piece suit.
Yeah,
shoes slipping all over the place. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with here for 4 hours?
I actually like that though, because my dad was in sales and stuff a lot, and he was always a very big guy on like, be in the room, like dress up, like bring the positive attention to yourself. So I like that. I'm real big on like going, like even if I go out to dinner, if it's a nicer place, I'll put a tie on. And like sometimes when I go home with my girlfriend to like a family thing, I'm like, are we suiting? Like, are we suiting up? And her dad is like, I swear to God, you are not to wear a suit, because I'm showing up in jeans and a polo.
Not my
and
problem.
Sorry,
Sarah. Not my problem.
I'm going to start doing that, because her grandmother, who's still, God bless her, 97, she gets, when she's like, she can't even really see, but she's like, Brennan's going to wear a suit. All the guys should wear suits. And like she gets excited because I'm about that. Like I like that life of being like, no, yeah, let's dress up.
Like when I was younger, I hated it, but because I went to a private school, we wore uniforms.
Yeah,
so
it didn't matter,
I didn't really get the chance to just express myself through clothes. Then I got to high school. That's when I love clothes. Like I'll put on an outfit to check the mail.
I mean, you look great now.
Oh, thanks, man. I was waiting for it. I'm joking.
So you ended up, where did you go to college?
VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University.
So when you get to college, VCU, I know that one. That's I don't know that one.
It's in Richmond.
What's the mascot?
It's a ram.
Ram. I know VCU because when I played college football, that was like a school that like we had played before or something like that. Big
We-
on basketball too. Right?
Yeah,
big basketball. School.
Great basketball program.
Yeah, so that's why I know the school's name. But normally when people mention a school, especially a smaller school, I'm normally real quick to pull out the
Right.
go
Right.
go Rams.
Right.
So when you get to college, coming from the background you came from, when you get to college, are you like, all right, time to party, time to let loose, or were you a little more?
No, I was knee deep in my girlfriend, and I mean that literally.
I'm sorry, I don't. You do this on stages too, but every time you do it, I can't help but laugh.
These are truths, sir. I have lived. I had a girlfriend. I was very serious about her, and I was trying to get into medical school once upon a time.
Oh wow!
And
so
yeah.
you were just in it.
I mean, I went from cheating to try to get into medical school.
Yeah.
Like, because I wanted to provide a future for her, and that's just what I thought I wanted to do because that's what you're supposed to want to do. But
that's what I was going to ask. So you almost not condition might be the wrong word, but in your head you were kind of like, this is what is supposed to happen.
Yeah. And like I had such good role models as my parents that like I knew everything to do with a girl. Like girls loved me because I was just like I did things they didn't have to ask for.
Yeah.
Like you thirsty? I brought you a beverage. I was just like on
Wow.
top of everything to a fault because their friends would get kind of jealous. But in the meanwhile, I was like, I'm gay. Don't worry about that. Like, there's no guys like that out here. Like, I'm a fraud.
Yeah. This is all pretend.
I'm a lie.
It's interesting you said it because sometimes, not arguments, but Tracy and I will get in a little tiff sometimes because like I'll go to make like ice cream or something and she's like, you weren't going to ask me if I wanted any, or like I'll go to the fridge to get a water and she'll be like, yeah, I'm thirsty too, and I'm like, oh yeah, shit, there's two of us here.
Right. Well,
but you were on top of it.
Yeah, like I was on top of it, and like I liked her very much.
Yeah.
I like the way that we were perceived because I think especially straight guys, they looked at me like they would look at her because she was a beautiful girl, and then they looked me up and down and be like, all right, brother, all right, I see you, I see you. And at that point, they couldn't say shit to me because I got the girl that you want, and I got a nice outfit on. There's nothing for you. Like what can you say?
What are you gonna say?
What are you gonna say in 10 seconds?
There's nothing you can go after.
Nothing you can go after. Like it was my armor.
Yeah. So when did you? Because I don't know, and if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. But when did you like come out? When did you finally come to terms with? Oh, this isn't who I really am.
We had broken up, and I tell my straight friend, most of my friends are straight, and I tell them this all the time. If you want to have sex with a girl, act like you don't want to have sex with a girl. And I didn't care to have sex with a girl.
Understandable.
So girls are just like,
reasons.
like I like him so much. There's something different about him. I don't know what it is, but I just like him. So I got a lot of attention from girls, but I didn't think it was fair for me to lead them on.
Yeah.
Because like in college, I think in the back of people's minds, they're like, oh, I'm going to graduate from college. I'm going to get a good job and I'm going to get married. So they're out there looking.
Well, especially in the South, that's a big thing.
Well, Virginia, like I was on the cusp of like DC.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's no Piggly Wiggly out there like Drew's.
That's true. But it is interesting because obviously where I'm from in Florida and like the South, especially Northeast Florida, because that's more like we call it like, it's basically lower Georgia, lower Alabama kind of stuff.
Right.
There's kids who graduate college and get married at like 22, start having kids, sometimes a little earlier than that.
Crazy.
And then the further north you go, actually, it is interesting because then that age sometimes gets a little bit longer and longer. And I think it's just nowadays in modern times, people are like, yeah, we'll get married when I want to get married. I'm not going to get married right away.
Right.
So I do find that interesting because there are a lot of people I went to college with who are still dating the same person or ended up getting married, but it wasn't like immediately after college.
Right.
So what in your head, I'm interested in this because it's fascinating to me from your background, growing up in the family you did with such great role models and your parents. What was the antithesis? When were you like, okay, this is going to change now? Was it after college, during college?
It was during college. I had the girlfriend that we broke up, and college is supposed to be the best years of your life.
It was for me, for sure.
For most people.
Yeah.
But like I didn't have that banter of, having like a good gay buddy. I was like, yo, check that dude out. Like, I didn't have any of that. Like, I was with my girlfriend all the time, and I wanted to be with her, oddly enough, at the time because you don't really miss something you've never really been exposed to. Mm-hmm. But I just got tired of wearing this gorilla on my back. It's like me trying to hide that I'm black. It's like you trying to hide, that you work at a restaurant. I mean, like, you work at a restaurant. Like I'm black. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, you can't fault me for that. And to those that want to, I have to learn to be tougher, to not to be bothered by their opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just got tired of it. It was, like, exhausting.
Was it a big moment, or was it just slowly over time just letting people in, or not even talking to people about it, just like, oh, this is who I am now? Or was it like a big, like, you called your parents and you were like, hey, this is what's happening?
Like, when I first moved here, I worked at a gym, and there's probably 3 gay trainers in there. But I get along well with straight guys, and straight guys, you know, like me a lot. So I think the first 3 people that I told were 3 just ultra masculine, you know, like straight guys, and you know, they were like, you know, we love you, bro, blah 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 blah, and that made me feel good because I like you just like, even now I just never know how people are gonna respond as a trainer. Like, I don't. That's not the first thing out of my mouth. People are like, you know, you dating anybody? I'm like, nope. Like, what'd you do this weekend? I'm like, nothing. Like, it's all about them, because I don't want them to ask me questions, because I've had women stop training with me because they found that I was gay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they wanted to fuck.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, who can blame them, right?
Oh, I have a twin brother.
You do?
That's happened twice.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I can't help you out, but
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's interesting, because as a twin, I could never do that, because I have a twin sister. We're fraternal, so I could
Yeah.
never. Well,
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say never. There was a time in college where my sister. Anyway,
A dimly lit room changes everything.
God, that's insane. Did you and your brother ever pull any of that, swap stuff, as far as like classes or anything like that growing up?
Yeah, like he signed in college. He signed in for me like a couple times when, you know, I was trying to audition.
Did you guys go to the same school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. We went to Historical Black College initially for a year, Livingston College in Salisbury, North Carolina. And then we transferred to VCU because I was trying to get into
medical.
Well, I had thoughts of going. I didn't know how I was going to go, but like I aspired.
Yeah.
To go to medical school, and you know,
mine was law school, but same thing, where it's like you're taking all the right classes, you're doing all the right things. You even take the. Did you end up taking the MCAT?
No.
Okay.
No.
I ended up taking the LSAT, and even then, I was like, yeah, I'm not going.
Right. Well, like that's why you watch these viral videos of like kids crying in the background, seeing if their single parent's gonna pass, you know, like the bar.
Oh yeah.
And they're just so joyous, and I'm just like, I have no idea what that's like going to law school when you have kids that need to be not dragged up but raised.
Yeah.
They need to be nurtured in today's society with what's going on. So many questions have to be answered. You know.
That's nuts. I couldn't imagine doing it. Like I said, I like signed up. I even got it, you know, was on my way, and I was like, nah, I'm not actually going to do this. I couldn't imagine doing it, even at 22, but doing it today. Like, there's so much that goes into it. And then people go back in like their 30s, and they're like, you know what, actually, I am going to do this. And I'm like, fuck that.
You have to have some say, because otherwise they might absorb the wrong information.
Yeah,
you know, there's
that's
a lot of
true.
misinformation out here.
Oh, yeah.
You want to kind of navigate, you know, certain things. Like, you don't want to control your child's life, in my opinion, but there's certain instances where you want to say, well, I know this audience is not like for the following reasons, but here's why I think you should be a little more inclusive, because we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
We're all God's creatures. We're all created differently. So let's be a little open-minded. Because typically people don't care about something until it directly affects them.
100%.
They do
You
not
see
like
this all the time.
I try to, like, because I have clients from, you know, like all over the world. Like, I hear stories. Everybody's going through the exact same issues, just different tax bracket.
Yep.
And you know, like, people need to be not just understood, they need to be heard. They need to be heard. And some people don't want to listen. They want to listen. They want to listen to respond, because they want to push their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I say it all the time. Sometimes when you're talking to someone, it's almost like they're counting the seconds so they can start talking again.
I mean, like, it could be, you know, political. It can be like a vegan. Like, you wear leather. Yes, Jillian, I wear leather. Like,
Do you see this jacket? Do you see how good I look?
It's the first jacket I bought when I moved to New York City. I was like, you know what? You're not going to strip me of my pride.
Fucking Jillian.
Good grief. And like, you know, you're entitled to your opinion about anything, but like, we can't agree to disagree.
Yeah, and I'm real big on that too. Is the thing I don't like, be it politics, like you said, financial, religion, it doesn't matter. I am very open-minded to arguments. Obviously, that was one of the big factors of why I wanted to do law. That's why I studied political science, is that there's no right answer. There's just different answers.
Right.
And I'm very big on that. I had a professor in my international law class, shout out Professor Morton. He used to say, if you can't argue both sides of the argument, you have no business arguing either side of the argument, which I really like because it's like, okay, you can see. And so it's so frustrating to me when people are like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. And no background, no history, no why, no this, no that. They're just like shut down.
And they get mad because they're no longer referring to you as Danny. They're like, no, my friend.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's like, okay.
Listen here, buddy. And you're like, all right, relax.
Like the things that I've had to listen to. And
And as a trainer, because as a server, I get this a lot, and we're both in the service industry. Obviously, you train, and I wait on people at the restaurant. But sometimes it is a thing where, and I don't know if this is true because it might be different because you're not being tipped. You like charge a standard fee, but like, do you have to like almost not change your personality or opinions, but do you have to, like you said earlier, just keep quiet about certain things?
I'm like, fuck the blacks. Get me through the hour. No joking. You know what it is?
No, but if you have a guest in who's like, yeah, we finally, like after the election, they're like, we did it, man. We're doing it. Are you like, okay, today we're going to do chest and tries?
I've had some people that I've worked with whose opinions differed from mine. And as time progressed, they became more and more and more extreme, and I'm just like, we have 17 sessions left. Either I reimburse her money and don't pay my rent, or I just I see what you're saying, but perhaps you could look at things differently. Like, we are having conversations, and at the end of the day, I think that's just what's more necessary than anything.
Yeah, so because I end up having to do the same thing. It is a little different because my livelihood is based on whether they like me or not. So there's not a lot of room for disagreement because a lot of people will take that personally, and then they'll just be like, well, I'm not tipping you because we disagree. And you're like, Cole, you wanted to have
you're tipping me.
You wanted to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And also, you made the reservation. I have all of your info. Like, I would advise you to tip accordingly. But I have had it. Like, I had a guest one time. This was years ago. But we were talking about something, and they mentioned something about South Florida, and I was like, oh yeah, I went to college at Florida Atlantic University. That's where I played football. And they go, oh, what'd you study? And I said political science. And then they're like, oh, you majored in political science. What's your opinion on the war in the Middle East? And I just looked at him and I went, no.
Right.
And they're like, what are you talking about? I go, listen, my dad taught me there's 3 things you don't discuss with people, especially people you don't know: politics, finances, and religion.
Right.
So I'm not doing this. And they're like, come on. And you could tell they were like super Republican, like war, like, yeah.
Waiting to see if they had an ally.
Yeah. Well, just and I get
Welcome, brother.
I get that a lot, man, especially obviously looking the way I look. But Will Blaylock, a really funny comic in Florida, has a great line where it's like, we're not friends. Like, we're not, when you see someone, they're like, right? And you're like, we are not friends.
Right.
So I find that fascinating, especially being in the training world where, like, because you have to deal with these people intimately, like one-on-one, like all day long. Sometimes you got to just be like, okay, yeah. So anyway, we're going to hit the elliptical for 15 minutes, and then we're going to...
I mean, like, there's some people that in the contract, I have I made an obligation to get them to a certain goal. Perhaps they have a wedding coming up. You know, there's diabetes in the family. They have to lose a certain amount of weight because they want to have whatever. So I have to honor that. I don't have to renew with them after that package concludes.
Okay, so after you hit the goal, you can just kind of... Have you because I've had it before where I've had tables and I've gone to my manager and go, listen, there's just something not vibing about this. There's just the connection isn't there. Can you give this table to another server? Have you had to do that with clients before? Just been like, thank you for everything, but this, like, we're not going to renew.
Like when I was in LA, there was somebody that I really didn't care to train anymore because it just was no longer a good fit. But I had to honor what I said I was going to do, and I'm sure people had an opinion like, why are you working with that person?
Yeah.
Because
this is a contract.
It's a contract, but you're not just working somebody's body. You're also working their mind. These people, often they have no one to talk to. And I've dealt with people that I know were on the verge of suicide. And I knew if I were to say the wrong thing, I'm not saying that they would, but you have to really handle somebody with kid gloves. You can't just abruptly just like get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm an intricate part of their life after a certain point. I've trained some clients 6, 7, 10 years.
Yeah, that's a long
You
time.
know, like you kind of become family. So when I left LA, my clients they were in tears. I mean, because like I was there, they saw me every day. I saw them more than they saw their wives, their husbands. They saw me every day. I'm a layman. I don't ask for water. I don't use their bathroom. I come in there, I do a good job. You dictate the conversation. Peace. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Okay.
You know, who doesn't want that kind of person in their life?
I would love that as a
No,
trainer.
shut up and stop talking.
That's one of my biggest things that I dislike about the gym, because when I go to the gym, because I have to be on for comedy, and I'm a natural introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I have to be on for comedy. I have to be on at the restaurant. When I go to the gym, I'm like, this is just me. And even like, because my girlfriend powerlifts, so a lot of times we go to the gym together, and she even knows, like, unless it's like, hey, can you spot me? She won't come up and like talk to me. Because if I have to pull my headphones out and you want to be like, oh, this is so and so, I'm gonna be like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
That's healthy too. Like you want to have your own lives.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And so it is one of those things though where, to your point, like sometimes, you know, if you're strong enough, or if you like are at the gym every day, sometimes those guys will just come, hey bro, what's going on? You know, I do the thing, pull the hood down, I take my headphone out, I'm like, hey man, how are you? And they're like, good. I'm like, okay. And sometimes they want to just, because they don't have that in their life, so they want to be like, so what are you doing this weekend? And I'm like, nope.
People do that to you?
100%. There's 3 people I'm thinking of in particular at my gym where they will keep trying to start a conversation
Because they see you every week?
because they see me every day. But I don't talk. I don't, like, I go to the gym and that's like, this is mine. Like, this is my thing where I don't have to be like, hey, how's everybody doing? Like,
Right.
be it the restaurant or stand up. Like, I can come in here. I don't have to be in a good mood. I don't have to put on this facade of a face.
Right.
Like, this is just time for me. And there are 3 different people specifically who will be like, hey, so what are your plans this weekend? Or like, how you liking Astoria? Or like, and I'm like,
Well, I guess I'm walking around looking like I have a self-esteem issue because no one has ever spoken to me. in the
Really?
gym. Nope.
well, but I think as a trainer, that's
Well,
like what you were
yeah,
saying
no.
about like, I come in, we do the job, and then I go. Like that to me is like, yes.
You know what it is, though? I think I've trained in New York City for a long time, and I think people can smell trainer on me.
Yeah.
And I know management certainly can. So, like, you know, just because like, if I'm working with somebody, I stand a certain way. Like, my body language is, like, very different.
Yeah.
And other trainers are going to pick up on that. And I'm sure management can pick up on that. So I just try to be as incognito as I possibly can, because there's been a few times when I've talked to people and the managers approached me and they're like, you can't, you know, try to solicit clients on the floor. I was like, I'm not soliciting him. He's asking me what I'm doing because I'm doing something he's never seen. Other trainers are seeing me do something that they've never seen.
Yeah.
And now they think, oh, is this guy perhaps a better trainer than them? Now they're threatened, thinking I'm trying to take people off the floor. I've known this guy for 6 years.
Yeah.
It's not like, no, I've never, you can't do that. I get it. I understand. I don't want to get put out of the gyms. No, I can't work out there.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Well, you're not trying to poach clients.
But
like,
they
it's-
don't know
Yeah,
that.
they don't know that. I had it one time where this was, speaking about the training thing, this was so funny to me. It was in Florida, and this guy was training like his sister and like his sister's friend, and he's training them. And this is at a gym that has their own trainer, so they're very vigilant about like, you can't train people if you're not a trainer here, because that's a lot of money that they lose by doing that.
Absolutely. Moonlighting is what they
Yeah,
call it.
exactly. And so the sister is like doing an exercise, but she has both her headphones in, and so she's just finishing. It's like, you know, AMRAM kind of stuff. So she's doing like 20. And so she's like at probably 5. And then the general manager of the gym comes up and he's like, hey, man, we've been like kind of keeping an eye on you. You're not actually working out. You're just telling these 2 women what to do. You're training them. Because he actually wasn't doing the thing where he was like fake lifting in between, which is a
Yeah.
must, because you have to make people think you're also just working out. And you're like, oh, yeah, you should try this. You should try that. And then he goes, I'm not training them. He's like, why don't you mind your own business to the
big
general
mistake.
manager?
Big
And he
mistake.
got like confrontational, but he was dying on the hill of like, I'm not training them. Much like when you went into the principal's office and you're like, I don't know.
Right.
He was dying on this hill. And then the sister finishes her rep, pulls out her headphones, and she goes, is there a problem? He's my brother. He's just here training us. And I was like, oh no. I was like, that's no.
Karen, no.
And he was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
It's like, fuck.
Dude, it was So funny.
Oh, that's
when
funny.
did you move to L.A.? How long were you in L.A. for?
I was in LA for 3 years.
Was that, I'm assuming after college you had moved to New York and then you went out to L.A.?
Yeah, I went to LA. Like I said, I done some things on television, and I was like, oh, if I'm really gonna pursue this is the land of opportunity for it. And here I am.
Yeah. Back in New York.
Back in New York, baby. Like I miss New York City,
Yeah.
It's Christmas, and you can't wear a turtleneck. Like, why do I have flip-flops on? This is crazy.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. We go back to Florida in February for Tracy's February break. And a lot of times it's so fun for me because we walk out here and it's cold and it's gloomy. And then when you get off the plane, it's like 75.
Right.
Because that's what I'm used to. That's my environment. And I'm like, let's go. I didn't own a winter coat until I moved to New York. I didn't need one.
You have good skin? Are you using the butters for somebody that came from Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cocoa butter.
It's working. Shea, cocoa.
Every lotion I get has cocoa butter in it, which I didn't realize was like a predominantly like not a white thing.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, Vaseline tries, like sprinkle some, cocoa butter in there, like, like Vaseline brand. It's like it's not the same,
No,
but yeah.
Everything I get has shea or cocoa in it.
Yeah.
You have to.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
125th Street,
Especially
baby.
because I shave, so it's like
Yeah.
I have to, or else I get so like my skin will just start cracking.
I've seen like, I've seen people. I'm just like, that's not normal. You need,
You need some moisturizer.
You need some immediately. I'll apply it.
All right, last story I wanted to get to. You sent me a story about your girlfriend cheating.
Oh God.
Is this the one that you had been with for that long?
The one and the only one.
Yeah,
There's
one and
only
the
been one.
There has only been one.
Yeah, you know what?
That's true because you did say you would court someone for like 2 months and then be like,
Yeah.
Dennis,
Sorry, Becky.
Dennis.
I only wanted you for your Jeep.
Hey, back when we were in high school, man, Jeeps. Oof,
Yeah.
that was a fun time.
Especially because I knew this other guy named Scott liked the Jeep. I was like, let me use that Jeep for a weekend. What a time to be alive.
Take that, Scott. Did you guys do a lot of like weekend parties like in the woods and stuff in Virginia?
We had something we called the Pit.
Okay, what's the pit?
Now it'd be a danger zone, but it's just where new developments were.
Oh yeah. We had that in my development. They were making a phase 3, so when they first started, it was just empty land.
Like there was something at the kind of like at the end of Dale City, and like people would be out there, like blaring music. People were smoking. Well, they're smoking cigarettes. Obviously, they weren't smoking weed, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Now I've been told, they're like, oh well, we smoked weed, but we didn't think you'd like us anymore. And I was just like, who else was smoking weed?
You really had that reputation of a good kid.
I mean, I was just so quiet, and everybody knew my parents. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, you're the Suggs boy. Like they're the Suggs boy. Tell your mother, Judith said, hey, my mother knew everybody.
Wow.
Everybody.
So nobody would. They were like,
I had older brothers, and like they had reputations.
Danny doesn't need to know about it.
Like they were athletes, and I probably would have smoked weed in high school just for the sake of the experiment.
Yeah.
But that.
Did you enjoy it or no?
Smoking weed in general?
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, really?
I mean,
I hate it because I'm an overly anxious person, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's the wrong strain. It's the wrong this." I'm like, "Well, I've done it a few times in my life, and every time I'm in a full blown panic attack."
I think you have to be in the right space, in the right frame of mind to do that. But you also want to be around the right people. Like when I'm by myself, I'm like, "Oh, you got time to smoke weed, huh? The dishes are not done. You haven't written a joke in a year and a half." What are you doing? But if I'm with my friends, but like if I'm with my friends, I'm like, who wants to get Domino's? And I'm high-fiving. I know you like this typically, but fuck it. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. You only hear it a Thursday,
Yeah.
You try to get it in.
That makes sense. Yeah, a couple times I did it, man. I was like full blown, like staring at the people in my dorm room, like everyone's coming for us.
I can't imagine smoking in college. Like smoking in college at the dating apps. I'd probably be dead or in jail.
Well, we didn't have the dating apps back then.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was interesting because now it's kind of swung the other way. Like a lot of people are like off the apps and like meeting people in person again.
Where?
Or so I'm told by the hostesses we have at work who are like 19, 20 years old. They're like, the dating apps are like so millennial.
They can't afford to pay the cell phone bills. That's a lie.
That's true. But I remember being in college, and I'm sure you had a similar experience, but you would just like go to a party, and that's how you met people.
Yeah, like especially for the straight guys, like back in the day.
Yeah, because you had sent me something about straight boys.
Like I said, a lot of my friends are straight, and like I like the reason I would meet them because we would be out, and I'm like, you want to smoke some weed, or like they'd ask me, you want to smoke some weed, and like when you smoke weed with somebody, especially if it's kind of a secret because it wasn't necessarily like legal.
Yeah,
it's bonding.
Oh yeah,
like that's my weed buddy.
Yeah. Emma Woolman has a great joke about it. But the more illicit or illegal the thing is that you're doing with someone, the faster you become friends. Which
I'm sure there's people out there doing crack that have ride or dies, but I think probably weed is probably
cocaine is a big one. You do cocaine with as someone who's done my fair share of cocaine. It's always we're best friends. We're going to start a business. This is a great idea. But like I said, I go to this gym 6 days a week, and I've been here for 3 months, and I was even going before that. And I couldn't tell you 2 people's name at the gym.
Right.
But if I was doing coke with someone in the bathroom, we're like best friends. So I think there is some truth to it. Like you said, like it's a secret. It's like our thing.
Right.
Like, hey, what are you doing after class?
And especially like sometimes like when guys have girlfriends or even when girlfriends have, girls have, like boyfriends, even though they're together and they have a dynamic connection and a relationship, when you connect with somebody else, it's just it doesn't have to be sexual at all, but like a connection's a connection. You know, I've seen heterosexuals not have connections. I've seen a gay guy and a straight guy have great connections. A connection's a connection. So when you find that, you're just like, it's special and it's mine. Doesn't mean I have to cheat or do anything illicit, but it makes you feel alive.
Oh yeah. Is that something as a last thing, and then we got to get to the girlfriend cheating, but is that something as a trainer, and you're a very affable man, like you get along with a lot of people, is that something you have found where you can make a connection with like a straight guy that their significant other will be like, you've been hanging out with Danny a lot? Like do women get jealous of you because their boyfriends are like, yeah, this is my guy, this is my friend?
I've had many women say, so you're Danny.
Yeah, you've had that?
My husband's never spoken about a man the way he speaks about you.
I knew it. I knew it.
You know what it is? They don't think we're doing anything because we're not. They just don't understand, why are you so joyful around him?
Yeah, why
do you smile the minute he calls, let alone walks down the street? And they see our connection, and again, it could be 2 gay guys. It could be 2 straight guys. It could be, a heterosexual guy and a girl, or gay. Like when you have a connection, it doesn't happen often, but like when it does, I think as comics, we're entertaining. I'm judgmental. You've been judged. You probably don't judge, as a result. I'm non-judgmental. And, I like to have fun and, have a good moral compass,
That's the best.
What's not to like?
That's my favorite thing is when I walk into work, there are certain people that I have a connection with. And when I walk into the kitchen, they're like, "Hey, you're working today?" I
mean, like that.
I see them every day.
That can be. That's why people have like work wives. They have work husbands. You're like that's that person that you love to see because it's gonna make work feel like it's a playground, and it just makes it easier. And like I think we all need that person because we used to have that, and then they got married.
Yeah.
Or
so you're Danny.
Or like they moved out of state. So
I love that. That's gonna be the name of the episode. So you're Danny. So what happened with your one and only?
All right. So we had been together for a long time, and at the time, like I said, I was just really, really, really into her. Funny story. She was a very attractive girl. She was about 5'9". Everybody thought she was a model, and I guess she did some small stuff, but like she never made it to like top 10 agency in New York or anything like that. But she still got that attention.
Yeah,
because I see how they look at the models in the streets. So because I was so into clothes, and once upon a time I wanted to be a fashion designer, and that didn't seem practical, and like I didn't want to be like you faggot, So I just didn't. I was like, okay, bad idea. But I've always like loved clothes, so I was like, ooh, I'm gonna start dressing her. She's already a very attractive girl. Mm-hmm. But when I started dressing her, on top of the enormous attention she was getting, it just went off the stratosphere. She started giving me trouble. She was like, oh, I'm going to go away this weekend to go to a homecoming. I was like, you're going to another homecoming? This is 2 homecomings in a week. Is this normal? Who are you going with this time? Someone's like, what the fuck?
And at the time, you're her boyfriend, so it's like,
yeah, like we were together, but I guess like we had been in arguments, and you know, like we're on the phone. I was like, "Just break up with me." She's like, "No, you break up with me." She's like, "You break up with me." I was like, "No, you break up with me." And then finally we get tired of like, "All right, I'll call you tomorrow." Click, and then we kind of start all over again because we were fighting over whatever. But God, I lost my train of thought.
So 2 homecomings. You're dressing her. She's
So so it was over the summer. I come home from college, and this girl has gone out. She's going on like Tuesdays now. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out." I was like, "Are you going out with your girl again?" I was like, "Tuesday? You went out Sunday, Monday, and the Sunday I let you go out. Not let you go out, but like you kind of had your girls' night." It's like, okay, Monday too. Okay. What's happening on a Tuesday to 3:00 in Virginia?
Yeah.
Where are you going? So the next day, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go meet up with my friend, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "Take my car, go out." I was just like, "I don't really want to," so I stayed there, and I did take the car. I think I went to get some gas, and I guess as I'm getting gas, her girlfriends had picked her up, and they're driving by. So like now, I see them like on the right, and I'm driving, and they turn right, and I was just like, I turn. It's raining. It's dark. I'm following them. yeah, I'm following them. I pulled up in an apartment complex. I'm like, okay, it's 2:00. No, I'm sorry. Like, I knew they had gone. I'm trying to think. Like, did I see them coming from? Yeah, they were going to Marcus's house. That's what it was. It was at night. Damn it, Marcus. It was at night. It was roughly 9:30. It's like raining. So like I'm following her, and they pull. It's raining. It's foggy. I can see, but I can't see.
Yeah.
But I'm just following. You know, like the white
lights.
the white Hyundai. I was like, follow the white Hyundai. So I'm behind her in hot pursuit. They pull into the apartment complex, and they do a lap. And I was like, I'm on them. They do another lap. I'm not on them, but I'm on them. I'm watching them. They do another lap. They do a 4th lap. I don't see him anymore. I was like, where do they go? So I do a lap. I do another lap. I do another lap. And as I come around the corner, all 4 of them are standing in the street with their arms across.
They knew.
They saw me lap them like 3 times. 3 times. Oh, and like prior to that, prior to that, I had already kind of been caught, and they thought I had gone for good, but I physically got out of my car, and I was hiding behind a trash can looking, and her friend saw me, and she was like, "Ooh," and I jumped in the car, and then I just kind of drove around not knowing what to do, and I wanted to see what she was going to do. Was she going to stay?
Yeah.
What's she going to say? And then they see me, and then I just fly back home, and then she calls
So
me.
you didn't get out of the car. You just took off.
No, I had been caught at that point. I mean, like, I just tried, like, it was terrible.
What happened? Did she call you? And she was like, what the hell was that?
She called me, and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, what? I did not act like it never happened.
You did the same thing you did in school.
I was like, what?
I don't know what you're talking about.
And like, obviously, dumb, you're driving her car. Like, she's not going to know it. And like, you know, I was like, you know what? You're hanging out with this dude. You're with your fucking ex-boyfriend. Like, you lied. I knew there was something. And my friend, we're not friends anymore, but she's like, bad advice. You know how they say, curiosity killed the cat? Mm-hmm. That's how normal people think. But she's like, but satisfaction brought it back. You should follow her. That's what she told me to do. Now, this girl has had terrible relationships. At the time, I didn't know that. But she said, you should follow her. And, like, it made me look stupid. Obviously, like, when you're a kid, you do stupid things.
Yeah,
but,
for
like,
sure.
you know, now if somebody were to tell me that they were following their boyfriend or their girlfriend, I'd be like, no, not what's wrong with him. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
what
100%.
What makes you think?
Why do you want to be in that?
Like that's appropriate. But when you're young, like, you're in love, and, like, I figured out how to pleasure her without having to do, like, too much. I wasn't going to start interviewing new people that I had to, like, go through. Like,
interviewing new people is a great way to put it.
I don't want any of that.
So you were just like, I'm out. That's an interesting thing, too, I've learned as I've gotten older, was when I was in my, like, you know, teenage years, I remember being in high school, and, like, the girl that I, like, dated for, like, a year and a half in high school was at, like, some house party. and she was a little younger than me. And I remember I was sitting with my buddy, and I was like, she's not texting me back. Like, this is a disaster. And I'd call her, and I'd be like, how do I know you are where you say you are? And I would be like freaking out because I was insecure. And still, I'm pretty insecure. But as I got older now in relationships, like if I just get that feeling, I'm like, oh, this isn't healthy. Like, I'm out.
Right. I'm I was gonna say Apple AirTags. You know, will give you. Joking.
The Citizen app.
Treat them like a piece of luggage.
The Citizen app is how I found.
You know what? So there's this guy that I was hanging out with forever. God, can't even talk about him. But we used to exchange like kind of find your friends.
Yeah.
And it's cute when you know what the plans are for the day.
It's not.
Or like for the next day. But like when you call and you're not getting a answered phone call, no one's responding to text messages, you message him at 2 p.m. and now it's 11 p.m. and you're watching that little dot move. I'm like, where the fuck
that was probably
is he going? And then you call again because you know he's mobile. He can clearly talk. He's in a vehicle. He can clearly talk. Why didn't you pick up the phone now? Can't see your battery's dead. That was hard. And like like 48 hours later, I was like, all right, I got to get off this because like I can't get in my own way as far as.
That's exactly what happened with me, with my ex. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is probably done. And then she went on a girls trip, and then I pulled up Citizen, and I was like, oh, I can see her location. She's not where she said she was. And this is a person I was with for like 4 years.
Did she know you had the app?
No. Well, she knew I had the app, but she didn't know that I could check her location from it. And then when she got back, I confronted her about it. And then she's like, why were you looking at my location? I was like, why were you not texting? Like, why would you text me? And then I would immediately respond, and then I wouldn't hear from you for 12 hours.
Right.
And so it's just one of those things where now being older, instead of trying to ask, like, why would you cheat or who would you cheat with or, like, how could you do this? I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, this is over.
I'm notorious for, like, when I'm in a situation like that, I'm like, help me understand why you thought it was appropriate to tell me voluntarily that you were going here when clearly you were there. Did I say nothing? Help walk me through it. Talk to me like I'm 2.5. Help me understand why you said you were going away for the weekend with the girls. Why do I see them on Facebook?
Yeah.
In another state.
Oh, man. This was fun. Thank you for
man.
coming on.
It was a pleasure. I had a good time.
Plug everything one more time. Your social media. Let everybody know.
Danny Suggs. My Instagram is The Black Danny, and I have some upcoming things. Please check out my page and follow me, like my reel, and I hope to see you guys again soon.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening at Brennan T. Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Had a great show at Grove 34. Thank you, everybody who came out. And check out the one-man show, Ex-Drinking Buddy, a comics look at life, near-death, recovery, and redemption. And we'll talk to you all next week. Boom.
Boom. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for coming on.